When you think of Egypt, you probably picture the pyramids, the Nile River, and sand. Lots of sand. What you probably don't think of is hockey. Well, there is hockey in Egypt, and it's growing. This past October, I got the chance to participate in the first international ice hockey tournament in Egyptian history. I went with a group called the Friendship League. They're a tourism organization that harnesses the power of sport to foster genuine cross-cultural engagement between otherwise distant communities. Their team identifies sports organizations in unusual destinations that face unique barriers to growth in their communities due to a variety of factors, including lack of equipment, opponents, and expertise. They then work together with these communities to organize an exchange with international sports enthusiasts and develop a plan to support the sport's growth locally. In the past, they've traveled to places like North Korea, Turkmenistan, and Kenya to play hockey. For me, Egypt has always been my dream location to visit, and when I found out I could visit, represent my country, and help grow the game of hockey, I couldn't pass up the opportunity. I left home not knowing what to expect when I got to Egypt, but I left with a deep love for the country, the people, and made a ton of new friends. Join me for the next couple episodes as I take you on my trip to Egypt and my quest to play hockey in the desert. I started my trip with a drive from Pennsylvania to New York City. In total, the drive took about 6.5 hours. Once I arrived at JFK, I parked right outside Terminal 4, so it was a short walk to go inside and check my bags and get my boarding pass. I made my way through security and got to where my gate was. I had about an hour until boarding time, so I just walked around and explored a little bit. Boarding for the flight was easy. You walked down an initial ramp, and they checked your negative COVID test, and then you were allowed to get onto the plane. Because I was at the back of the plane, we were one of the first people to board. I made my way back to row 52 and found my seat. I was lucky I didn't have anyone sitting next to me, so I was able to spread out and get a little more comfortable. The entertainment systems on the back of the seats were a little outdated, but they worked fine. They had various movies, TV shows, and music you could listen to throughout the flight. After we took off, they came around and gave us these care packages that had headphones, socks, and some other things that you might need during the flight. They then served dinner. They had a couple options, but I chose the chicken and rice, and it came with a few other things to eat and orange juice and water to drink as well. The total flight time was about 10.5 hours. So after dinner, I settled in and tried to get comfortable and get a good night's sleep. The next morning they served breakfast, which was some bread, yogurt, orange juice and water, and then I still had about 3 hours until we landed at Cairo.
once I got off the plane, I made my way through the airport and had to go through 2 or 3 security checkpoints where they checked my passport and negative COVID test until I finally reached customs, where I got my passport stamped and was allowed to go out to where the baggage claim was. Luckily, none of my luggage or equipment got lost. I then went outside and met my pre-arranged transportation. The drive from the airport was about 15-20 minutes to get to the first hotel that we stayed at, called the Baron. The hotel was very nice and up to Western standards. In the morning, there is breakfast in the restaurant, which included things like omelets, sausage, and pastries. All the staff were very welcoming and eager to help. The only downside of the hotel was the size of the elevators. They only fit one person at a time, especially when you had luggage. After checking into the hotel and a brief team meeting, we all boarded a bus and headed into the city. In Egypt, the weekend is Friday and Saturday, so traffic wasn't too heavy. Our first destination was a drive through Garbage City. Garbage City is a slum settlement with a population of around 60,000 people on the outskirts of Cairo. The village is famous because nearly everything is covered in garbage. The people that live there are nicknamed garbage people. They collect the garbage of Cairo's residents in a door-to-door service for a small fee and then transport it back by donkey carts or pickup trucks to their homes. At the top of Garbage City is the St. Simon Monastery, also known as the Cave Church. It is the largest church not only in Egypt, but also in the Middle East. It has a seating capacity of 20,000 people. In 1975, the first Christian church was built in the village, but after a large fire broke out nearby, work began on a monastery that was built right into the mountain. Simon the Tanner, who the church was named after, was a craftsman saint who lived during the 10th century. The monastery has impressive paintings and stories carved on the wall and into the mountain rocks. It also has sculpted statues of the Virgin Mary and Mary Magdalene. If you're interested, there's even a small tattoo shop located right outside the church. hopped back on the bus and crossed over from Cairo to Giza and headed to our next location. The papyrus shop that we stopped at had a ton of art inside, and I ended up leaving with a few. Be sure to barter with your salesman because you can always get the price lower, but don't be afraid to say that you're just looking. After seeing some neat glow-in-the-dark papyrus art, we got a lesson on how the ancient Egyptians made the paper.
The first reason the flower looks like the rays of the sun, symbol of Amun-Ra. Who's Amun-Ra? Oh, 1 point here, yeah. God of sun intentional time. Second reason is the steam takes this one looks like the pyramid. It takes the pyramid shape, symbol of eternal life. How to make the papyrus paper from papyrus plant? We cut the stem according to size we need, big, medium, or small. For example, like this. Yeah. Then remove the green cover. The green part we don't use in making the paper, but the ancient Egyptian clever people use the green cover to make sandals, hats, baskets, mats. So many like this. Why? Because it's very flexible and very strong. So are you strong? You can try? No, I think you need Egyptian drink to make it more strong. Yeah. Yeah. So the most important part to make paper like this inner white board. We cut it into slices like this one, like this. But the slices is not flexible, so broken easily. Why? Because it has a lot of sugar and water inside it. You see? To get the sugar out, we're gonna use the hammer. So unrolling the pin. Where is the husband and wife here? Hello? Now? So I'm here. Yes. Hello? Is your husband and wife?
We don't have any husband and wife.
Oh yes. Sure, my queen, you have one like this in your home. Yeah, rolling the pin. So what do you do?
Make cookies.
Oh, just that?
Yep.
Not eating your husband when you come there? Oh, so you have to be like Egyptian wife. Egyptian wife uses one to hit her husband when he come there to make mistake, yeah? Egyptian wife uses a big one, small like this. After that, we put the slices in the water for 1 week. 1 week in the water to get white people like this. But if you put the slices in the water for 2 weeks, you're gonna get brown color like this. All the time you're gonna get more dark. Yeah? Then we take the slices out of water and arrange it into 3 checks of carpet or cotton like this one. It will be one vertical and one horizontal, 1 by 1. To weaving, yeah? Back in the ancient time, there is no carpet, no cotton, but use like skin of animal skin, yeah? 1 by 1 like this to complete, then we'll cover and put it under the press machine for another 1 week, yeah? The representative sugar always slices to stick all together like natural glue. But no press machine back in the ancient time, but using something else. What do you think? No, I think use like to cut woman teeth. Yeah. Yes, use like 2 big rocks, 2 big stones if his teeth is 1 week in the water, 1 week on the brace, and 1 more day under sun to dry. After that, we're gonna get first the paper in human history like this one. We call it papyrus paper. Yeah, this is the first paper in human history. Unfortunately, my queen, my brother, nowadays we have other kind like this. We call it fake one, Chinese one you have seen around the pyramids, around the Egyptian museum downtown Sharm el-Sheikh, Luxor, Aswan. Now you have to know what is the difference between original or fake. This original one, so more flexible, we see more strong, yeah? So we're gonna roll it in me like this. It's no damage. Yeah? Original one also, if you put it under the light like this, we're gonna see like 1 vertical, 1 horizontal, 1 by 1. Other one, fake one is 3, there is no vertical nor horizontal, just 1 way, 1 direction. So why? Because fake one make it by banana leaf and sugar cane with papyrus plant like this. Yeah? This one also we can wash it. It's washable. Wash it will no damage, but fake one if you put it in the water it will damage. This one after we take it out of water, put it just a little time under sun to dry and we're gonna use it again. Look at this one. This one is still flexible and is still strong. It is the first paper in humans. Okay? Any question there?
Our next stop was our tour guide's gift shop that had amazing rooftop views of the Great Pyramids. Of course, I left with some souvenirs from there as well. Our final stop for the night was a dinner cruise down the Nile River. Dinner was served buffet style, and then we settled in for a night of traditional dances. First up was a performance by a traditional belly dancer. traditional whirling dervish dances. After the performances were finished, we headed up to the top of the boat. Unfortunately, by the time we got there, the boat was already docked, and we only had about 15 minutes before we had to leave. Still, the view from there was amazing, and the Nile River looked beautiful at night. We finally made it back to the hotel, and most of our group hung out at the hotel bar, getting to know each other a little more. After a little while, I headed up to my room to relax and get ready for the next day of exploring. Join me next time for part 2 of my trip to Egypt as I explore ancient mosques, churches, and play hockey.